It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge.
Grab your flint and tinders, hollows, undead, and ashen ones, and all those between. Now it's time to get kindling those bonfires. So grab a fellow undead or ashen one, and let's dive into this twisted world and face off against all those who would seek to stop our quest. Today we shall be reviewing Dark Souls 3, but I want to give a shout out to Katophoenix. She did a great job on the artwork. Now let's dive right in. Directed by Hidetaki Miyazaki, and started development before even 2 was released, and originally intended as a conclusion for the series. The game focuses on improving several mechanics of the series as well as the world design, and having a story open to interpretation. Dark Souls is an action RPG with a focus on the overall experience of difficulty and the world design. You are an Ashen One, a failure who could not even link the fire, and was instead consumed into ashes. The bell rings requiring kindling once more, and those chosen to link the flame have abandoned their duties. This requires you to be raised as ash to once again attempt to link the fire, using the Lords of Cinder's souls as fuel. There you have it, your entire motivation for doing what you're doing. Simple, clean, with lots of rooms for theories, interpretation, and storytelling. Overall, it's a solid story and motivation. Really, the meat of the story comes in the characters' storylines. A lot of the characters you'll come across have personal quests. As you go through the game, you can help complete these quests. Further refining the gameplay established by Dark Souls 1 and 2, the game definitely feels like a proper sequel to 1, with lots of areas to explore, fun, well thought out battle mechanics, with plenty of room for player skill to make all the difference. I mean, I've seen a man beat the series on a damn Dance Dance Revolution pad, so definitely emphasizes player skill and knowledge of enemy timings and movesets. The game feels good to play and is really satisfying when you finally overcome the asshole who's been giving you trouble for a good while. Gameplay is all in all a satisfying and quality time. Another addition is the 2 DLCs which are part of one another, which are some of my favorite DLCs in all of gaming. 2 large-scale, immersive story and gameplay expansions, adding new enemies, items, areas, lore, and bosses, and giving the series its best conclusion yet. The controls are fine, and unlike Dark Souls 1, there isn't god-awful default settings for the PC port. They feel responsive and work well, which is great given it relies heavily on timing windows to dodge attacks and parry enemies. Overall, it's all good here. A staple highlight of a Souls game, you got your classic hollow soldiers and knights who have gone insane. Large, angry dragons swooping from above and setting fire to everything. The ever-hated mimics and their desires to feast upon fools who mistake their maws for treasure. Towering giants equipped with massive cleavers waiting to be toppled by onion knights. Large demons whose fires are slowly burning out. Massive wolves that ambush you in the snow. My point is, there's a massive variety to the enemies here, with unique movesets and gorgeous designs that make the world come alive. This is another area which proves itself as a proper sequel to Dark Souls 1. It capitalizes on the world design, soundtrack, and enemies to create such a bleak, hollow atmosphere, but with small glimmers of hope that maybe you could be the one to break the cycle, either in a small way such as saving a dear friend, or saving the entire world from a bleak, meaningless lighting of a cursed fire for some long dead god. Another highlight of the experience, from the soft, comforting violins of Firelink. To the bell chime leading into the Abyss Watchers, as the numbers of combatants rise and rise, leading to an all-out cacophony of violence and bloodshed with a haunting, somber tone. The soundtrack is a treat in these games, coupled with great use of sound design and solid voice actors. I love outside the Abyss Watchers fight, how you know it's a boss battle, but you can hear people already fighting inside. The swords are clashing, which makes you wonder, who's in there fighting the boss? You haven't got in there yet and there's already still fighting. It's a nice set of ambience and good use of sound design. A pretty game. I was blown away by some of the world design my first time through, and especially some of the bosses. The game ran a lot smoother than Dark Souls 1 did. No Blight Town lag terror here, though sometimes fear the goddamn poison swamps and their spooky enemies. There's some slight texture load-ins. Sometimes you'll turn the camera and you'll see a far-off piece of terrain pop in the HD version, and sometimes the camera will clip in a way that'll let you see through the terrain. But this isn't too big of a deal, and it only really shows up in really small conditions. First up, it's a Souls game. You know what that means? Cue the dying montage.
You are dead, dead, dead. You are dead, dead, dead.
Thought you were hot, guess what? You're not.
You are dead, dead, dead.
You brought your whole adventure to a screeching halt.
You are dead, dead, dead.
Your heart has stopped and your brain is cold. You were so dead, and now your body is starting to mold. You were so dead. This dimension cuts like a knife.
A massive focus on the difficulty. If you're not willing to be challenged, then what the fuck are you doing playing a series notorious for its experience being defined by the difficulty and world design? I'm looking at you, you fucking overpaid games journalist, demanding an easy mode. But yeah, the game definitely improved on Dark Souls 2 and didn't bloat it out with too many filler bosses. The world design isn't quite as strong as Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne. The way these worlds link together is still some of the best I have seen in games. I'll also say some of the abilities just feel way too weak to really use outside of gimmick and role-playing. The big memed on being a miracle builds. Like sure, a few heal miracles of force and other such can be useful for any character, but overall miracles are usually too slow or too weak to provide any benefit to compete with say sorcery or the old-fashioned hit everything in the face with a big ass sword approach. Oh yeah, another fun thing. Remember the Valley of Defilement in Demon Souls, or Blight Town, or Harvest Valley, or name a Poison Swamp? Or Dark Souls 3 is chock full of Poison Swamp areas. The Farron Keep, Profaned Capital, part of the Ring City. I'm sure I've missed a couple, because being slowed down, poisoned while fighting fast enemies is always a treat. Thanks Miyazaki. But overall, these are mostly minor grievances on an overall great experience. Overall, Dark Souls 3 is a great end of an era for Souls, and a solid experience overall in a series packed with good times. I'd recommend you go out and buy this game and its excellent expansions. From its great gameplay, to an excellent soundtrack, to a grand setting, and a solid story that is open to a lot of interpretation. It's a hell of an experience. I'd like to give one last shout out to Katophoenix for another great piece, and I'd like to ask you to check both her and my social media out down below. This has been Core, and I'll see you next time.